candidate for Ohio Secretary of State is back on the ballot after an effort by the current Secretary of State Frank LaRosa, to remove the popular podcaster Tori. Maras had been deemed ineligible after the incumbent's deputy challenged dozens of signatures that left her shy of the required 5,000 signatures to remain on the ballot. However, the Ohio Supreme Court overruled the Secretary of State's office and found that Secretary LaRosa, who is running for re-election, acted in quote-unquote clear disregard of the law by not counting valid signatures. And joining us now is the now once again candidate, Tori Maras, of the popular Tori Says podcast, and her lawyer, Werner Mendenhall. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning.
Hi, Tori. I want to start with you first. Why did Secretary LaRosa consider it so important, considering he's a Trump-endorsed incumbent candidate, to get you off the ballot?
Well, because I ran as an independent and I represent over 75% of Ohioans. There's been a mass exodus from both the Republican and Democrat Party, and over 75% of Ohioans are either registered independent or non-affiliated. Therefore, I am representing the majority of Ohio.
Clearly, he is very worried that you'll pull Republican voters from him, clearly with a concerted effort to get you off the ballot. And we've seen this in different areas around the country, particularly within the Republican Party. So, Werner, how big was this decision by the Ohio Supreme Court and the implications for other candidates like Tori?
Well, it's a very important decision, and it's a momentous decision. The Secretary of State has tried to have an administrative process whereby he actually went against the rules set down by the state legislature, and he used that to bump Tori off the ballot. So the state Supreme Court has said, no, you have to follow what the legislature said about the election. You have until, the date that they set to submit petitions, not the date set arbitrarily by the Ohio Secretary of State.
And you're not stopping here, Tori. Now that you're back on the ballot, you've supercharged an effort to get rid of the voting machines in your state, which is clearly in line with what we talk about on this show a lot. And in doing so, you've been one of the most vocal people out there, criticizing the machines. You've also highlighted that the elections have already essentially been federalized following this 2017 action from the Obama former DHS head, Jay Johnson. That's resulted in agreements like this one from a county in Texas between CISA, which we talk about a lot on here, and the county. And most of these memos are classified, but Attorney General Ken Paxton has declassified the memos in his state. So, Tori, can you explain this arrangement to our audience and why you think it's important to get rid of these machines?
Right. So one thing I just wanted to add is I'm not going to take away from the Republican vote. No one's voting for him. No one's voting for the Democrat. Because in 2022, I think most Ohioans are aware that data drives everything. And right now, the data that they collect through their ERIC systems, through the voter poll books, through the voting process in itself, from the ballot marking machines to the devices that actually, you push the button to vote, they know how you're going to vote. They know where they need to campaign. This is why nobody else is campaigning, because they already know that you'll just listen and go party ticket. And they try to fit us into these neat little red and blue boxes because it's easier for them in regards to data to maintain a two-party system. These machines have that intention to know the whole picture of every single citizen. And not only that, the software itself is not managed by independent parties. It's actually managed by the federal government. CISA is in every step of the way, from the signature, from petition to ballot box. You have federal employees involved. They are obfuscating access to information about these machines and the way we vote. Why? Because they claim that it's national security. Therefore, we don't have free and transparent with a chain of custody elections, because we're not entitled to know how our vote is processed. We just have to trust the government. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. Considering that, though, When I spoke with Frank LaRose on the day that I was put back on the ballot, I actually shook his hand, asked to take a picture. He didn't want to. That's fine. But I did ask him, what are you going to do to make sure that I'm on the ballot? And you know what his response was? Every county prints off their own ballots. That doesn't sound very kosher. Knowing every county has their own printer to just be able to print off ballots. They should be treated like money, right? My vote is my voice, and that represents my First Amendment. My voice should never be minimized. My voice should never be silenced. And I believe that both parties, the both people that subscribe to parties, that is, believe the same thing, that we must acknowledge every citizen's voice. And these machines are not doing that. In fact, they're suffocating it.
So this is a very aggressive lawsuit. We have about 30 seconds left, Warner. You, in the break, you were explaining that this is a unique situation, that you actually have a candidate with standing. That's been a big issue with a lot of the lawsuits, has a candidate with standing who's willing to go forward. Explain that, and what's your hopes of being successful? You think you'll be successful in Ohio?
Well, let's explain something to the audience. I mean, any effort to fix our elections and get them more fair and free and without interference from the federal government is good. So Tori's very brave to do this. So whether we win the initial ruling or not, I think long term we're winning because we're framing the issue, we're educating the public, we're letting people know that we need to get back to in-person, hand-counted paper ballot voting. That's the way to secure the elections. Let the local people run it. Don't federalize it. Whenever the federal government comes and says, hey, I want to help you, you can bet there can be a problem. And I think we've got that with the Help America Vote Act. It's a problem. We don't need to federalize elections. We need to localize elections.
Yeah, I had a friend that worked in the Reagan administration who would always tell me, what Reagan would say about when the federal government says they're here and ready to help. Essentially, you should be worried. Thank you both for being here. And Tori documents everything she finds and the progress on her cases at her website, torisays.com. And you can listen to her talk about it on her podcast. I recommend you go there. Thank you both for being here. This is really interesting, informative, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Thank you, Emerald.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Good luck, Tori.